In yoga, no, pain is not acceptable. So if you say pav bhaji, even if you say there are too many vegetables in it, I'm sorry, it's overcooked.
So I also understand that in a sublime manner, what you are also letting us know is that all of these ill food habits, okay, they are in another way adding to the stress on our physical body.
Absolutely.
जय हिंद दोस्तों, स्वागत है आप सबका हमारे इस पहले पॉडकास्ट पे। मेरा नाम है प्रतीक कदम। आज के जो हमारे गेस्ट आने वाले हैं उनका नाम है मिस ऊर्जा शाह। ऊर्जा अपने आप में एक बहुत प्रैक्टिस्ड योगा पर्सन है। उन्होंने पूरे 1000 घंटे की योगा ट्रेनिंग कंप्लीट की है। उसके अलावा उनके पास योगा फॉर कैंसर, योगा फॉर चिल्ड्रन ये सर्टिफिकेशंस भी हैं और उन्होंने ERTY 500 योगा प्रैक्टिसिंग भी कंप्लीट की है। जो लोग योग के बारे में थोड़ा बहुत जानते हैं उनको ये जरूर पता होगा कि ERTY 500 सर्टिफिकेशन क्या होता है। अगर आपको नहीं पता है तो दिस इज योर अपॉर्चुनिटी। आपको इस पॉडकास्ट में वो खुद आज बताएंगे कि ERTY सर्टिफिकेशन क्या होता है। तो जुड़े रहिए हमारे साथ इस पॉडकास्ट पे एंड डोंट फॉरगेट टू लाइक, शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब। थैंक यू। Hello, Miss Urja. Welcome to our podcast, and we are really happy to have you on our podcast here, and it's a pleasure to see you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So, I would request you to let's start from the question like, how is your yogic practice going on?
My yogic practice is going on very well because for me, yogic practice is not just on the mat, but it's also off the mat. So, yeah.
Okay. So, would you like to elaborate more about how you mean when it is off the mat as well? That's really interesting to hear, by the way.
Um, the thing is, yoga is yog actually. So people
Correct.
say yoga, but the A is silent. A lot of people know that, but we don't use that as a practice.
I agree.
So let me start here by saying yog and not yoga anymore. So
Appreciate.
throughout throughout this podcast, I think both of us should say yog.
I agree.
Awesome. Okay. So my yoga is, um, according to me, the practice you do on the mat. It's very physical. It goes somewhat to your breath, and depending on how deep you want to take your practice, you do also take it to a more spiritual level. But again, it's very individual choice. So for me, I do that on the mat, but then apart from that, off the mat, I'm very mindful about what yoga teaches in entirety.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that through the podcast you ask me some questions, and
Sure.
if not, then at the end, whatever I feel we've not covered, what yoga really means, I think I'm gonna give it as a conclusion. I don't wanna like give everything up right now.
Thank you. Really happy to hear that from you. So, you please tell me, I know that you are someone who has completed your practice in law. Correct me
That's
if
right.
I'm wrong.
That's
Yes.
right.
So, from being a lawyer all the way to being a yogini, so how did that transition happen? If you can please tell us.
Okay, that's long journey. The thing is, I have not only done law, but I initially wanted to become an economist. I also wanted to be a psychologist.
Wow.
Finally, I came down to becoming an advocate. I practiced for a while.
Okay.
Nothing against advocates, but I cannot sleep at night being a practicing lawyer because it needs a lot of manipulation. It needs a lot of dirty work. So,
Okay.
so I don't like to bend the rules of the law just for my and my clients' behalf. For the and only doing right to one party, not doing right as a humanity sake, So I decided I want to take a break from law, so I took a break, and that's when my mother-in-law suggested that we do a course together. So it's this place called the Yoga Institute. It's in Santa Cruz.
Okay.
I've been going there since the age of 5
Oh.
because of my grandfather.
Okay.
My grandfather, he's not anymore, unfortunately, with us,
I'm sorry.
but he was practicing for about 35, 40 years of his life.
Amazing.
So, so I remember when I used to go stay with my grandparents, summer vacations and all of that, he used to take me to the yoga institute. So I'm very, very attached to that place. And when my mother-in-law suggested that we do a course, uh, I totally jumped at the idea and I was thrilled, because I was anyways not doing anything. I wanted to take a break and this was an amazing break for me. So I did a 1 month course there and I got to learn about yoga, and that's when I realized that the word yoga means so much more to me, and it's deep rooted for me. It stems from something that I cannot explain right now.
Okay.
So I did the course and I realized I wanted to, venture further and continue my study because it was not enough for me.
Okay.
So I went ahead and I did a 7 month course again from the Yoga Institute.
Okay.
And well, my parents were not very happy about that fact because they were happy that I was doing good in law, and they actually said this to me. They said that you're wasting a seat, because a lot of people want to study and they don't get that opportunity because they only have limited seats available in each class.
This was about law.
Yes.
Okay.
So they were not happy about it. So my first call goes to my grandfather.
Okay.
And I'm complaining to him that, mom's acting difficult. She's not letting me do the course. So can you please speak to her? That's all I had to say. So, and then my grandfather just had to, tell her that she's doing good. Like, why are you
I agree
stopping her?
completely, yes.
Why are you against yoga? Why? So my mom obviously didn't have an answer to that, so they had to reluctantly let me go ahead with the course. And while I was doing the course, meantime, I also got married. And soon after my marriage, a friend of mine, her sister, told me to start teaching her. Now, because of the marriage, I had a little break in my studies,
Okay.
and I wanted to complete the course before I actually start teaching because I wanted to be confident. Um, I didn't want to have like half the knowledge, and
Absolutely.
that's what I was going to pass on, right?
Correct.
So I did tell her to wait for a couple of months, but she said she had trusted me
Okay.
and she wanted to start immediately.
Oh, amazing.
So, yeah. So it's it's like being grateful to all these characters in your life.
I
So
agree,
it's
yes.
like my grandfather and then, my mother-in-law and then this friend of mine who um giving me that opportunity, having that trust in me that, you can do good. Like, please start teaching. So I started teaching, and even though I had not really thought about teaching at that point because I just wanted to learn,
Okay.
but once I started teaching her, I realized that, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm meant to do. This
Basically,
is
that's what gives you the
it's
happiness.
yeah, and it's fate. It's like sharing this beautiful knowledge
Yes.
and being a teacher. Being able to give the right knowledge in this world where uh, there can be a lot of people who don't guide you very well. So it seemed uh, literally like fate.
Congratulations,
So,
by the way, on that note,
thank you so much.
that you have at least found what is the right direction for you, because there are so many people out there who really work so hard, and then they may or may not be in the right process which they always wanted to be. So really happy to see that you are in the right phase where you wanted to be.
I am. Thank you so much.
Welcome. So, how do you keep up with your yogic practice? And how do you make sure that you keep learning? You mentioned some time back that you always keep learning something new. So, would you like to tell us how do you do that?
So, I um, physically go and do my courses. So, I keep refreshing my knowledge, learning more, refreshing my practice. And one of the ways I do that is by uh, going to Mysore. So,
Okay.
once I finished my 7 month course at the Yoga Institute, I later on, after learning, after like teaching for about 2 years, I guess, I realized I have a lot of knowledge, um, but my physical practice is lacking.
Okay.
So back then, I don't know what the state is right now or how their curriculum is, made right now. But back then, they didn't teach us a lot of asana. So the physical practice, what the world wants right now. They don't want a preacher, they want someone who can teach them handstands and headstands and, they want to do, they want to do funky stuff. So I realized that that was lacking. So I started asking my teachers at the Yoga Institute that is there some other place where I can deepen my practice, asana wise.
Correct.
So, so a teacher of mine recommended me to go to Mysore.
Okay.
My guru's name is Bharat Shetty, and I keep going to his place. Unfortunately, since COVID, I've not been able to, but it was like a yearly ritual for me. It became like that for me, where from 2018, 2017, 2018, and 2019, all the 3 years back to back, I went and I did my Yoga Alliance course. Now, this is an internationally recognized certificate,
Okay.
so I can literally teach anywhere in the world.
Amazing.
So I am like an ERYT 500. Uh,
I'm so sorry. So basically, I'll tell you. So our audience would be from anyone 5 years old up to the, whoever the eldest person could be. So
got
if
it.
you could just let us know what is the full form of that.
So RYT is basically a registered yoga teacher with the Yoga Alliance, and an E500 gets added because I have those many years of experience of teaching.
So 500 stands for
So 500 is the amount of hours I've put in learning.
learning.
Yeah. So,
Amazing. Okay.
so no. So my 1 month course, which I first did, I think that was about 200 hours. Post that, the 7 month course was about 900 hours, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, I remember correctly. Yeah.
Okay.
Post that, I used to go for 1 month every year for the Mysore course, which is my Yoga Alliance course. So my expertise is in Ashtanga, but I also teach Hatha Yoga. For I'll explain what Ashtanga and Hatha is a little bit later.
Please.
um, so it's a 200 hour and then a 300 hour course,
Okay.
which I did uh, 2017 and 2018.
All right.
And post that, I did a level 3, which was in 2019. Now, the 200 and 500 together make that 500. So you can be like an ERYT 200, and then you become a 500 once you've done your level 2.
So I'm assuming that securing admission at Mysore Institute,
Yeah.
Shetty Sir's Institute,
Yeah.
also must have been a challenge, right? So if you could just elaborate more, because what I've heard about him is that he is very strict on his rules, especially let's say if you are enrolling for any kind of course at his institute, then it's a completely caged zone for that many number of days that you are with him practicing.
Yes.
So if you can please elaborate more on that.
So, he's a very strict teacher, but he's a very loving teacher. He's a very understanding teacher. And the prerequisites definitely you need to be at least practicing for about, 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
You need to be physically be able to. His whole agenda behind being strict and having like a prerequisite for students coming in for uh, the teacher training course. You can be of any level if you want to go for a Mysore style class.
Okay.
Now, a Mysore style class is where he will design a sequence of asanas for you to practice depending on what level you are at. So, whether you're a beginner or an intermediate or an expert, he will design a special sequence for you that you can practice.
So it is designed per individual?
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah. So he will talk to you, he will sit with you and understand what, and also what your needs are,
All
you
right.
know. So some people need something different, you know. Some people go for some kind of physical ailments, like if you have diabetes or if you have, or if you're pregnant for that
Correct.
matter, you know. So he will design a special sequence just for you. It's like tailor made for you. So yeah, so that's a Mysore style class. So you
All
have to
right.
keep repeating that sequence every single day till you like,
Reach your goal.
yeah, meaning you have to um, become a master of those goals. Like because there will be certain changes that you go through physically, mentally, emotionally,
I agree. Yeah.
because you'll be repeating that over and over and over again.
Correct.
So um, your body will open up in ways it needs to, will become flexible, become strong, all of that. For the teacher training, like I was mentioning, there are certain prerequisites
Okay.
because it's a very intense program. So we start at, like, we wake up at 4:30 in the morning.
My God. So I remember you telling me once that course, okay,
Yeah.
at Mysore at Shetty Institute,
Yeah.
you have many foreign people also coming there
Yes.
to learn.
Yes.
So all of them, you're saying they are made to wake up at 4:30 in the
Mm-hmm.
morning,
Mm-hmm.
and it's easier for them? No.
No, it's not. They actually have a lot of difficulties depending on which part of the world they're coming from,
Correct.
you know, because there are a lot of people who come from Asian places
yeah.
or, you know, Russians or who don't even have a good grasp of English.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
now they are made to learn and by heart, for that matter,
Uh-huh.
um, Sanskrit. So,
I think I was gonna come to that.
so you can imagine. I mean, there is that language barrier where they don't even understand the classes properly. Where it's everything is explained in English, obviously, but number one, to understand what's spoken in English, and then going ahead and actually learning the sutras and all the shlokas and everything in Sanskrit, and also obviously the names of all the asanas are also in Sanskrit. So yeah, but it's very commendable. They are so um, driven. They are so disciplined. They are so eager to, you know, gain as much knowledge as they can. So I have had so many friends. So we Indians, I'm sorry, but we will make friends there. And while we are connecting with people, they are in their rooms locked up
Oh,
and they're learning. They are learning. So there it's it's a little sad sometimes that we take it for granted that okay, this knowledge just comes to us and we know it. So to some extent we don't know the real value of you or the value of it.
correct.
But the foreigners, high respect for them. Like hats off. Like they really put in the work. They will not only make their money's worth, but they will make your, you know, themselves proud. They will make the teacher proud. They will make that whole experience for them in its entirety. They will make sure they get the whole of it.
Yes.
The whole, meaning like 360 degrees.
Or if maybe I can say every penny counts kind of.
Yes, absolutely.
So please continue. You're saying something that you are made to wake up at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
And
so we have to we ideally should wake up at 4:30 because our practices start at 5. So, going to the bathroom, doing all your morning rituals, it takes that half an hour. And especially if you're sharing a room, which usually happens, it's like a twin sharing. So you have to obviously also accommodate,
Correct.
your fellow student.
Correct.
So yeah, 4:30 is an ideal time to wake up. So 5 o'clock, we're all expected to be down. We start with our kriyas. I'll get into the kriyas, what kriyas really means,
Surely.
because people only know yoga asanas or pranayam for that
I
matter.
agree.
But I don't think a lot of people know what kriyas really,
Agree.
means. So we start with the kriyas, and all of this is all self practice. I mean, sir teaches us a few times, and then we have to do this all on our own
Oh,
because he is simultaneously doing his own practice. So he wakes up at 3 a.m. I'm not
okay.
even joking.
No, I completely agree with you.
So he wakes up at 3 a.m. He does his own practice before he actually joins class, you know.
Right.
So we do our kriyas and then we do our Mysore style class. So we
Okay.
have, because I do Ashtanga and whoever does Hatha also, we have our own sequence that we have to do every single morning. So
Okay.
it's one set of asanas and we do that literally every single day. So we go there for like 28 days. So we have to do that every day. Whether you get bored,
Okay.
whether you're tired. Of course, there are like three, four different sequences you can choose depending on what your energy level is like.
Correct.
You can choose which one you want to do,
Yes.
but you have to do that sequence. It's a discipline. You do that. So
Agreed.
then once we're done with our asana practice, which takes like at least 90 minutes, post that we have our pranayam, and post that we have all of our lectures, all spread out.
No breakfast?
Oh, we do have a breakfast.
Okay.
Um, but again, so like I said, the schedule is kind of like spread out, and we have theory lectures and all of that in between. Um, we have an amazing teacher who comes and teaches us all the bhajans, and
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
she teaches us Bhagavad Gita, and
Amazing.
yeah, so it's beautiful. The best part is singing all the bhajans and all the hymns and everything together. And again, the foreigners, they enjoy it. And how?
So I have a question here for you, and it may sound quite controversial, maybe. So I'd leave it up to you to decide whether you
Yeah.
want to answer it or not.
Yeah.
But having seen that there are some people who at times take it in a sense that it is something very Hinduistic or maybe something very Sanatan, and I do not want to because apparently chanting of someone else's religion. So
Yeah.
you got my question. So
Yeah.
does anything of that sort ever happen there? Have you ever seen it happening?
No, so people who come together for yoga are non-judgmental, is
Okay.
what I've noticed, and they are very, very open to learning. They don't have uh, like a critical kind of eye or mindset for that matter, and everyone is really open. It may have happened one or two times when uh, some ideas may have conflicted, but never with the learner.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I talk about conflict here, I want to just bring up one instance which just comes to me at the top of my
Please.
head. Um, the thing is, we have a big lawn there. Okay, so we have the main building, uh, and just outside we have a big lawn. So there are plants all on the four sides, and there's grass, right? So sometimes Sir likes to move our evening uh, Q&A session outside. When it's not raining and it's really pleasant to like just be under the sun and the stars, sorry, the moon and the stars. So uh, we move our mats out and then we have this 1 hour Q&A session with him.
Every day.
So no, it's not every day
Okay.
because he doesn't have the time every day, but we have it like 2, 3 times a week for
Okay.
sure. So this one time, out of the 3 times that I went there, this one time there was this one student who uh, she didn't like the fact that there's medicine basically sprayed for the mosquitoes or
Correct.
whatever kind of insects are there,
Yes.
because it's green, right? So it's going to attract all of that. So she was not okay with that. So she didn't want to be a part of the group at that particular moment.
Okay.
And again, sir being sir, he was very accommodative. He's like, okay, so one student feels um, doesn't feel good or is not okay with something. So, to make her comfortable, we actually moved the whole class back indoors. And
Okay.
even though he didn't agree with her for whatever reason, let's not get into all of that. It's a personal choice,
Okay.
right?
Totally.
So, he has he has a he has a theory. So he didn't impose, but he made sure that she was accommodated. And
Okay.
this is what I talk about. Sometimes there's like a difference because I'm assuming she was vegan or of sorts, something. I don't know. Again, she was a foreigner, so
Agreed.
uh, I don't know really what was going on in her head, but she was angry. She was
Mean at the peak.
yeah, she was angry. She literally like, so how can you all do this? She just picks up her mat and she walks. She walks off.
Also kind of insulting.
Very insulting. And yet, serving sir, like I said, he is out of the world. I have the words are less for him, to praise him. So he's like, okay, let's just move in because I don't want her to miss out, and it's fine.
So basically, you are saying that he wanted to be accommodative of even that one student,
Yeah,
okay, who has
absolutely.
enrolled and should not miss out for what she has enrolled for.
Absolutely.
That's what his perception is.
Absolutely.
Really, really appreciate. Okay. So that brings me to the next question. Actually, you mentioned Ashtanga Yoga. I have heard a lot about Ashtanga Yoga and Hatha Yoga both. Okay, so pardon me if I have mistaken, but I understand that Sadhguru is someone who is into Hatha Yoga, right? And
That's right.
even the classes which are conducted at his institute are into Hatha Yoga. And you yourself are also someone who teaches Hatha Yoga. So let's go step by step then. Can you please tell us more about Ashtanga Yoga and what do you teach?
So, Ashtanga basically means Ashta, eight, and Anga means limbs.
Okay.
So, breaking it down, it means 8 limbs of yoga.
All right.
It became into a practice, yes, but the 8 limbs are the way of life. It teaches you everything you need to know, and to attain salvation is, I
So
mean,
it
that's
is.
everybody's. Sorry, tell me what.
So it is 8 limbs of yoga.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, please go ahead. I'm so sorry.
What I was saying is that 8 limbs of yoga is it's basically the way of life. It teaches you everything you need to know step by step. So 8 limbs or 8 steps of yoga. So not a lot of people know this or agree to this or have reached that space yet who want to achieve salvation or moksha or uh, become one with God or
Nirvana.
nirvana or however you want to put it. Not a lot of people have reached that sweet spot, but for the people who know, they know that okay, there is a procedure that you follow, right? So there are people who do karma yoga, there are people who do bhakti yoga, and we yogis, we do Ashtanga yoga.
Okay.
So your Ashtanga is basically, so it's Yam Niyam. Yam Niyam is your uh, things you follow for yourself and for other people. And you also asked me about this question whether it relates to Hinduism or not. So it not only relates a little bit to Hinduism, but it also relates to Jainism and Buddhism. Meaning, literally, the first thing about Jainism is ahimsa, and that is a part of your Yam and Niyam.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so ahimsa and socha. Socha is something like meaning cleanliness. You
Yes.
clean the body,
Yes.
not only externally but also internally.
Agreed.
So there are kriyas for that, which I will explain. So then aparigraha means don't accumulate unnecessary things, and tapa, swadhyaya is Ishwar Pranidhan. There all of these yam and niyam. Basically, there are 5 of each. after you do this, ideally, it's really not that much possible in today's time, but this is how it used to be taught back in the days. In the olden days, every student of yoga had to follow yam and niyam
So you're talking about the
to
Gurukul
the T.
Paddhati?
Yes,
Oh,
to the T. And then you were ready for asana.
so this is how long going to be?
It really depends on, student to student.
Okay.
And yam and niyam then become like uh, it's, it becomes you. It becomes a part of life. This is what I was talking about off the mat, right? So it's not just asanas. A lot of people just want to do the physical
Yes.
of it. But there is the process. You have to follow certain things to as much as you can. I mean, you cannot be another yum is that you have to be truthful. But of course, in today's time, you cannot be truthful all the time, but 90% of the time, at least. So that is the learning. So you have to learn yam and niyam. You have to at least keep those principles in mind
Okay.
when you are doing your day-to-day activities.
Okay.
When you're going through your 24 hours, you keep those at least at the back of your head. So you remember that as much as I can, I should. Then you get ready for asana. This is your physical, everything physical. Then comes your pranayam.
Okay.
Now, the reason why pranayam is much later than asana is because your body needs to be ready
For?
for sitting in one posture to do the breath work.
Okay.
Now, your ideal time is somewhere around 30 to 60 minutes doing your pranayam. Okay. If you cannot sit for even 5 minutes without, or
Yes, I
So if you cannot even sit for 5 minutes without making any movements, your body is not ready for prana.
Okay.
So, but of course, we do teach because a lot of people are not physically strong enough
Okay.
to do a lot of asanas, but they do need the pranayam because they have whatever health issues. So it's not like you can't do pranayam before you do the asanas, but it's always ideal. So if you have a good body, you please master your asana practice and then you go, because in your asana practice you will already be learning how to synchronize your breathing with your movement
Correct.
or your holding.
Yes.
So when you're holding, like Hatha Yoga, for example, you have to hold your postures. So when you're holding your postures, your teacher will come and make you and put you in the right alignment,
Correct.
right? So when you're holding, you're supposed to stretch your breath out. You're supposed to breathe, ideally 7 breaths per minute.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's inhale, exhale 7 times per minute, okay, which is
You're saying subconsciously your mind has to have that ticker always going,
Mhm.
that it has to be 7 breaths only.
Mhm.
Okay.
So you become so comfortable. So there is a yoga sutra. It's called Sthiram Sukham Asanam. So it's when you are comfortable, when the asana comes effortlessly to you, that's when you are at peace. No matter, even if you're doing a lotus pose for that,
Okay.
your knees and your ankles and your back and everything hurting, means you are not there yet.
Oh.
So, yeah. So whenever the principle you keep in mind, the Yoga Sutra you keep in mind when you're practicing is Sthiram Sukham Asana.
Okay.
So, me sthirta
Yes.
is your stillness,
Yes. Yes.
Sukham is your peace and your
Correct.
in your asana. So, whatever you're doing, your yogic practice, the asana yogic practice needs to be that.
So I wanted to elaborate more on this part which you just mentioned, that if it is paining, if it is hurtful to you, a particular asana or a posture, that means you're not doing it right. So
That's right.
how do you make it in a way that it stops paining? Like, do you practice more, or you stop there when it starts paining during your training phase? I'm saying, how do you do that?
So, this is what Bharat Shetty sir always says. No force, na hatat, na balat. So there's no force involved
Okay.
and there is no pain involved. So
Okay.
you don't, if you feel pain, you're not doing it correctly. Your body is saying, I'm not ready.
Okay.
So you do a variation of it,
Of the same asana.
of the same asana. If it's
Alright.
paining, especially now, this is constituted for your main joints. So your neck, shoulder, your lower back, and your knees. These are your main joints.
Correct.
So if they are paining, it's not right for you to even continue with that posture. You
Okay.
stop.
Right.
You have to do a variation of it, or you do something else to train the same muscles or the same flexibility or the same strength that you're really working on.
Okay. Understood. Yeah.
So in yoga, there is no, so pain is not okay.
Understood. So,
Effort is okay.
yes.
Pain is not okay. So you need to, know that fine line. You have to stop at effort. You don't cross over to when it's paining. I mean, in any other sports or any other gym activity for that matter, they say no pain, no gain. I'm sorry, but yoga um, does not believe in pain.
I completely agree with
So
you when you say that because I know you have been a gym trainer as well
yes,
quite previously in your
yes,
like early stage of your life,
yes,
and from there you have transitioned all the way.
absolutely. So I tell this to my students. So like, if it's paining, please tell me.
Okay.
Yoga, in yoga, no, no, pain is not acceptable.
Okay.
Yeah, so you put in all the effort you want. You keep practicing. So yes, you have to practice, 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 practice. And I can keep going on saying practice. You have to practice.
So now I understood
Till you, yes.
when you say ERTY 500. I'm sorry if I'm
Yes,
mistaken
that's
that
right.
term. So now I understand when you're saying 500, how that 500 number had arrived. So,
Exactly.
like you mentioned, practice, practice,
Yeah,
and the rigorous practice is something that's going to help you master the postures.
exactly.
Correct. So, from Ashtanga Yoga, if we can move to Hatha Yoga, and you can tell us more about that.
Sorry, can I finish Ashtanga because I stopped at
Yes,
pranayam?
no problem.
So fourth step is your pranayam. Then comes your pratyahara. That's where you start learning that okay, I have mastered my physical. Now I want to start moving inward because that's really the ultimate aim, right? So
Aham Brahma.
yes, my WhatsApp status. You are the creator. You yourself, and I mean literally everyone is their own creator.
Okay.
So. Um, so you move, so pratyahara, this is where one of the part is your kriya. You know, there are other practices as well. So you literally start moving from outside to inside. Then comes your dharana, your dhyana, and your samadhi. So dharana is where you start learning how to focus on a mantra, or you focus on an idol, or you focus on your breath. You focus on something to start moving away from the unnecessary thoughts that come into our minds, and then we focus on one thing. So we keep coming back to that. So we have one focus point so we can move away from all the distractions.
Agree.
Then comes your dhyana, where now your mind becomes that when you pour oil, that's one thin stream, like it's unwavering,
Correct.
that kind of stream. So you reach that stage of dhyana. Uh, and then finally comes your samadhi, where yogis reach that, and it's not death. It's a very different concept where you can go in and out of samadhi while you're alive. So, you meaning your samadhi is that oneness you feel with the higher reality,
Divinity.
the divine, like
Okay.
the God, whoever you believe in. It's that point where you are in such bliss, you know, it's a meditative bliss state. And then whenever you want to like come back to the reality, you come out of that state. So you can by yourself have that power within you where you want to go in and out of that state.
So,
It takes a lot of time to reach there, but yeah.
correct me if I'm mistaken here. So, what I understand from that. So is it the soul or is it the you have a word for that? Is it the soul is not coming out?
Atma.
Yeah,
Talking about
absolutely.
Atma and
Atma,
Paramatma. So,
Paramatma, yes.
yeah. So it's the Atma becoming one with the Paramatma.
So you're
So
saying
for
the Atma moves out of the body.
it's not no.
Okay.
Because if your Atma will move out of the body, that means you have left the physical realm,
Exactly. Yes.
right? It just becomes one.
All
Like,
right.
you know, Buddha, right? So,
Yes.
Buddha, uh, when he meditated, right, he was still in this world. He became one with Paramatma
Correct.
and he was still here. He came out of that samadhi, per se, to now explain to the world and give his learnings. Now you
Agree.
get my
Yes.
point. So it's that state where you can move in, learn, and then you can come back and then you can decide for yourself if you want to share your learnings or not with the
Okay.
world, which Buddha did, which is, he's
So
blessed the world.
is
So,
Shakti sir also someone who has done that?
um, I don't know,
So
but I would like to know.
have you ever been able to meet someone who has done this in your physical life?
Um, Frankly speaking, even if Sir has or anyone else has, they
You
will
cannot
not tell
share.
you.
Exactly. Because that's a personal experience from
Exactly.
individual to
Yes.
individual. I
So mentioning Sadhguru also, they call him a mystique.
correct.
Okay, he has certain learnings, he has certain powers. In in yoga, we call them siddhis.
Correct.
So they may not even reveal if they have that power within them
Correct.
because it beats the point of getting these siddhis if you want to boast about it. You don't want to walk around, oh yes, I have an Audi, I have a siddhi. You cannot do that. Because then it beats the point of being a real yogi,
So you are saying that the siddhis go away as well?
They can go away if it goes to your head. I mean, have if your goal in life is to get a siddhi to show off, they can be taken.
So do
And then you will be stuck there. Meaning you will not move ahead, then you will not get moksha.
okay.
You will stay stuck at the siddhis. You will be happy, okay, I can walk on water, I can levitate, which is by the way, it's all real.
I agree. Yes.
So then you will be stuck there. You will be stuck showing off that.
Like a magician.
Yes. Then you'll have to take another rebirth. Again, for viewers who don't believe in rebirth, yes, it does exist.
No, I
Then you'll
completely
have to
believe in it.
so you'll have to then take a rebirth and then you'll have to again go through the whole karmic cycle and then gradually again learn that okay, siddhis is not the ultimate goal. Your ultimate goal is something else, which is moksha.
I agree. So talking about rebirth, if we can just elaborate, I'm really interested in that point because outside India, outside Hinduism, outside Sanatan,
Yeah.
okay, you must have heard through lot many friends of yours who are outside this country that they don't really believe in rebirth,
Mhm.
okay. But I remember I have read this book by a writer, William Barnes, okay. He is someone who himself has claimed that I am a rebirth.
Oh
Okay,
wow.
he's a born Christian, by the way. Okay, he himself has claimed that I am a rebirth of the architect of Titanic,
Oh
who
wow.
had willfully drowned with the ship.
Hmm.
So I believe in that. Okay, but how do you explain this to the Westerners?
So for the people who believe, there's another doctor called Dr. Brian Weiss. If you've read about his books, he's written I think about 7 or 8 of them. His daughter is also now a psychotherapist. He himself is one. The very first book he's written is Many Lives, Many Masters.
Oh,
Yeah. So a patient came to him and he was trying to obviously because of habit and because of his learning, because of being a doctor, he again did not believe in, any of this. What science couldn't explain, he didn't believe in it. It's
okay.
as simple as that. Like, so, but when this patient came to him, he explains all of this in his book. So, just quickly, in a brief summary,
Sure.
he tried everything he could with her, but she was not getting better. She was still suffering. She was still going through trauma. And one day he decided, okay, let me try hypnotherapy on her. And during this regression treatment or session with the hypnotherapy, he got to know things about her childhood.
Okay.
Okay. As the sessions moved forward, this one time she started talking about um, an experience which neither was of her gender,
Okay.
neither was of this lifetime.
And how did he realize that?
So, because when she was talking, so she was talking as a boy who had been burnt alive. Yeah. So obviously, so he first thought that she's probably making things up, or maybe she's hallucinating, or he was trying to rationalize whatever she was talking.
Okay.
But as the sessions progressed, she kept giving such more and more. She shared her experiences, she shared her deaths for that matter. Once drowning, once raped, once lot of things. You know, once was of some era when she was a Egyptian goddess, and you know, just random stuff. Sometimes she's a man, sometimes she's a boy, sometimes she's,
And
XYZ.
all
So
throughout, she was not hallucinating.
no, she was not.
Okay.
And that's when, and then also in the book it's mentioned where there are times when the soul uh, actually, so it just connects with a realm which is spiritual. Okay.
Correct.
So there were masters. So this is where the word masters comes in. So many lives, many masters. This is where, so these masters in the spiritual realm give their learnings. And then she talks that also. That's when he started,
Understand.
yeah, understanding that and believing that, okay, this is existence and I need to now accept this. So he accepted. So just like him, all the Westerners also, when the time is right, they will learn, they will accept. There is nothing you or me can say which will change their
I
mind.
agree. Yes.
You cannot change anyone's mind, you cannot change anyone's opinion. They need to be in that frame, in that time of life to be able to accept, and it'll come to them. So you don't have to worry about it. It'll come when it has to.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So now moving on
Moving on
to
to
Hatha
Hatha,
Yoga.
yeah.
Yes. So I would request you to let us know about Hatha Yoga.
So Hatha Yoga in a physical way is holding postures like I mentioned before. So you work with your alignment, you work with your breath, and it's ideal for beginners.
Okay.
It's ideal for beginners. So you learn the technicalities of every posture because you give time to it.
Correct.
So Hatha is everything Ashtanga except for the Yama name. So I mentioned 8 limbs.
Okay.
So you remove the Yama and Niyam, all the other 6 limbs are a part of Hatha Yoga.
So let's say uh, if an adult like me, okay, is
Mhm.
beginning with yoga for the
Yeah.
first time in life, okay, so does he have to choose right now at the beginning whether I want to go for Ashtanga or whether I want to go for yoga, Hatha Yoga?
Absolutely not. You take one class of each. You take 3 classes of each. You decide what's good for you.
So it's again having the liberty for an individual to decide for himself or herself how he or she wants to take it up.
Always.
All right. So coming to the fact that now many of the grown-up adults, okay, are wanting to learn yoga, okay, and wanting to have the best of the yoga that has to offer, okay. I've also seen people wherein they want their children to take up yoga, okay, which is a very good thing because you start at the right young age
Yeah.
and they go on to achieve milestones. I'm sure about that. So how as a teacher, okay, challenging it is for you to ensure that the kids are not mischieving or playing around. Like imagine that they are sent to your studio for yoga training, okay, and all he did was not doing any yoga but just play around the whole time. I'm sure that must have not happened, but if you can just let us know about that.
So children are going to play. It's by nature, and you cannot stop them. But you just teach them to play in a more systematic way.
Okay.
So just like you keep them in a classroom to teach them math or science or anything for that matter, similarly you teach them yoga. So you because now all of the yogasanas have an English name, right?
Correct.
So we have Vrikshasana, which is the tree pose. We have uh, Adho Mukha Svanasana, which is your downward facing dog.
Correct.
So all of these names um, have either nature names or animal names, or so it's fun. There's mountain pose, there's butterfly pose. So you teach the children in a way that they understand.
Okay.
So they will have fun while they're still learning. And because they're like, oh, I want to be a butterfly today. Oh, I want to be, like a mountain today. So they will enjoy it. They are so eager to learn. It's They will be mischievous, yes. But they do learn and they do practice, and they do it so much more beautifully than as adults. They have actually more discipline along with the playfulness, but they have more discipline and they have more eagerness to learn. So yes, you have to start early, and I'm so glad that a lot of schools already have yoga classes once a week. And I would like that all schools actually have this, as a it's a way of life. How can you not have yoga as at least maybe a half an hour or a 45-minute practice once a week, So I would really urge all the schools to include.
I completely agree with
Yeah.
you, but I remember being in India that we are, okay, uh, there are certain communities which feel that yoga is something that's got to do with Hinduism, and we do not want our kids to learn because they say that while performing yoga or while beginning to perform yoga as practice, okay, the first thing you ask them to do is to say chant Om, okay, and they take it in a very negative way or maybe in not the right way if
Yeah.
I'm not using the right word. So how do you think would be the right approach from school's end to ensure that we are able to have as many number of participants and with the right mindset?
So Om is not Hindu. It's
Okay.
just a universal sound.
Okay, I agree. Yes, it's been proved
So yeah, so it is not got anything to do with Hinduism.
Okay.
And to parents who have their inhibitions, to parents who have their uh, not so much of a loving or a liking for yoga, you can explain to them that this is a physical aspect. So your child doesn't have to chant Om or you know anything for
Any
that
sentence
matter.
mantra, yeah.
Yeah, they don't have to, but at least let them be a part of the physical aspect, because that's going to help them, because physical is we now know how important it is, and the earlier we start in life the better it is. So we can explain to those parents in this sense, so they don't have to feel offended at all, because even though there are a lot of principles which are very common between Hinduism and yoga, it's not the same.
Okay.
It's really not the same. I mean, just like there are so many similarities between Christianity and Hinduism and Muslims and Jains and Buddhists, we have certain principles which we all agree on.
I agree.
So we are actually all one. So why not practice the physical aspect also as one,
I
you know?
agree. Yes,
So
I completely agree. So that brings me to the next question and a very, very important question. So lot many people otherwise even have asked me this that how do we maintain the diet? Like it is very, very easier to say that as per yoga you need to follow this diet. Okay. So someone like you who's a practicing yogini, I understand it I would not say easier it is for you to practice, but considering the fact that unlike our viewers who mostly are into 9 to 6 jobs, okay, wherever they are, okay. So for them it becomes more tedious. I'm sure you understand that, because not just 9 to 6 job, but even otherwise 1 hour of travel to and 1 hour of travel back
Yeah.
to, okay, that becomes a very tedious task. So how do you think we could manage that?
So, uh, there are four pillars in yoga. Let me start there. It's called ahar, the food, vihar, achar, and vichar.
Okay.
Okay, so your mind, your food, your everyday activities, how you plan your day, how you plan your life, all of these things. All of this comes under yoga. Okay, a part of which is your diet, which is your ahar. Okay, so, yes, because I've learned, so I'm more mindful about my choices. It's not like I follow a perfect diet all the time, but when you say diet, you have to understand that there are three basic components that your food is divided into. Most of us already know it. It's sattva, it's rajas, and it's tamas. Okay, these
Okay.
are the gunas. It's
Correct.
also what we learn in yoga. Even our body is made up of these three gunas.
Gunas.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, your food also has the gunas.
Correct.
Okay. So you have to choose mostly and as much as possible something that is sattvic in nature.
Okay.
Okay. Now, your sattvic
How do
food
you
is
define that?
so sattvic is basically which is fresh, literally farm to table types,
Oh, okay.
So, meaning your fruits, your vegetables eaten either raw or cooked in limited amounts, not overcooked. So, if you say pav bhaji, even if you say there are too many vegetables in it, I'm sorry, it's overcooked.
So you have taken this
It's
charge कि आप सारे पाव भाजी वालों
so it's overcooked to a point where it's already lost all its nutrition.
I
You're getting my point. So, Sattva, if you want to understand, it's something that makes you feel energetic, feels light after it's consumed,
okay.
and it's pure, basically. It doesn't have impurities in it. So very less cooked food, raw food is what you should ideally consume. So for especially for the people who have a 9 to 5 job. So a lot of people I know start their day with like a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, which is it's not sattva. You may get that jolt of energy in the morning, but as you progress through the day, you're going to start feeling more and more and
Wanting.
more wanting and tired.
Okay.
What happens at the end of the day? You're like exhausted.
I agree. Yes.
Okay? It's not just the work, it's not physical, it's not mental, it's also what you're putting into your mouth,
Correct.
which is it's supposed to give you energy, but whatever you're putting into your mouth is not ideal, right? So, ideal would be to start your day with a fruit or like a juice,
So,
like a vegetable juice. Yeah.
like you mentioned, that there are people who want to have that thirst of energy at the beginning of the day.
Yeah.
So, how do you think? You think that, I mean, what are you implying? Is juice is something that should be used instead of coffee or any other tamsi
Absolutely.
item?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, if that doesn't satiate you and you still need to have your cup of tea or coffee, have it 1 hour after your fruit or your juice.
Okay.
So make that as an habit. So at least when you're breaking your fast, what does break fast meaning? Meaning you're fasting for the entire night.
Correct.
So the first thing you put into your body should be a fruit. Something that has energy, that has life,
Okay.
you know. So it gives you life in return.
I agree.
So,
Yes.
um, being mindful about what you're eating. So that's your sattvic food. Literally, if you want to know for the next 3 days, every meal you consume, meal meaning it's not just your main meal, not just your lunch or dinner, but also your coffee breaks or your uh, tea breaks or your biscuits or your soda. anything that you're having.
So on that note, I would request you to please let our viewers know when was the last time you had coffee?
I had coffee. Huh.
Because
Wow.
I've heard that you are not someone who is into coffees and teas.
I'm not. I'm generally not. I've never had tea in my life except for iced tea for a
Okay.
little while in college.
Okay.
But as a young one, my mom never allowed me to have tea. She never allowed anyone else to also give me tea. There's one instance, she was out with my grandmother, and I was under my aunt, my Masi, she was babysitting me, and she gave me tea. So when my mom comes back from the market, she's furious. She bit my Masi's head off. She's like, "How dare you do that? She's not allowed tea. How can you give my child anything without asking me?" You know.
So she
So
took it as an offense.
in the sense, because she's protective.
I
She's coming from that because she knows tea is not good.
agree.
Coffee is obviously out of the question. We only drink coffee when we become, teenagers. we No parent gives any child coffee. So obviously, coffee was never,
It's only the coffee shops who give it.
exactly right. So I have never been a person who drinks tea or coffee. I still don't. Coffee is sometimes if I'm meeting a friend and we've probably already had our meals and we have to meet somewhere, so we meet at a coffee shop, but I still don't do that. I have become a vegan since 6 months now, so I don't drink coffee outside also anymore.
All
So
right.
it's only at home sometimes, if at all I feel like.
Okay.
But I had to think when I had coffee last. I don't remember.
I had it today
So
morning. Pardon me for that.
it's bad.
I agree. Yeah.
It's bad. It is so bad. Research. I don't even want to become like a preacher right now about coffee, but read about it.
Surely.
So, coming back to the gunas, so that's your sattvic food. Try and consume as much as possible.
Sure.
So, eat home cooked meals to as much extent you can, and include salads. In case you cannot manage a home cooked meal or you cannot manage anything else for that matter, even if you're having your chole bhature,
Pani puri.
or if you're having like a pav bhaji, try uh, doing it like a power packed meal. Okay, so by what I mean is have equal amounts. The ideal would be uh, quartering your plate. So one part is your salad, which is raw. Okay, anything, whatever you like. One part is your grain. So it's either a chapati or a rice. Another part is your legumes. So this is where you get your sort of your protein from. So your dals and your legumes. And your fourth part is your cooked vegetables. So even if you want to eat three chapatis, make sure you're eating equal amounts of the other three parts as well. So that becomes your power pack. So that way you're being a little more conscious, and that way you're still including more fresh produce,
I agree. Yes.
in your diet. So if you're eating at the cafeteria, make sure you buy a salad as well,
I agree.
even if you're not carrying home cooked meals with you.
Correct.
So moving on, um, Rajas. Your Rajasic food is your spices or your sour and too salty foods or
Something that British came to India for.
or or uh, like your onions and your garlic and all of these, they have heat property in them. So they give you energy, but at the same time they make you angry. They get you in that kind of,
Zone.
yeah, like a not very
Would you say a
relaxed
tinge
zone.
of devilish? Do you think?
No, no, I would not. That's more tamas. because yeah, uh, it's more, it's for people who are physically very active.
Okay.
In our day-to-day life, we are not. So we don't need that much energizing, or we already have enough stress in our life that we don't need those kind of foods which kind of complement that feeling,
The stress
or
feeling.
that the stress feeling, or
Okay.
the heaty feeling, or that anger feeling,
Correct.
So, but it's not that we don't need it, we need it in moderation. But again, so you have to remember how much to consume and when to consume. You cannot start your day with it, or you
Right.
cannot end your day with it that way. And finally, it's your tamas. So, your tamasic food is.
The tinge of devilish.
Yes, that and um, things that make you feel very sluggish or also depressed,
Lethargic.
very lethargic. So
Okay.
it's all of your canned stuff, your processed stuff, all your chips and your baked goods and your meat, red meat, or anything of that sort, anything that is non-veg. Uh, yeah, it's you enjoy them sometimes. You don't have to like restrict yourself, and you don't have to die. Enjoy them once in a while, but keep it for an occasion.
Okay.
Not an everyday thing, like every day you open a pack of chips. No.
So I also understand that in a sublime manner, what you're also letting us know is that all of these ill food habits, okay, they are in another way adding to the stress on our physical body,
Absolutely.
which is something which always gets unnoticed.
Absolutely. That's why I said for the next 3 days, every
Right.
meal you consume, watch
Correct.
what you're going through.
Be careful.
Physically, mentally, emotionally, what
Correct.
happens? Everything you consume, immediately after, there's going to be a shift in your mood.
I agree.
You're either going to feel happy
Correct.
and satisfied, or you're going to feel like, I want to go to sleep.
Pani
I
puri.
would, yeah, I want to like, I need a bed, or you start getting angry, or you
Correct.
start feeling restless. It's literally the food that you've consumed. So the food directly,
Goes
not
to your
even,
head.
yeah, directly has not just an impact on your emotions, but also on your physical level. Now, we are not understanding that because it's happening little by little by little.
Correct.
So it's happening literally drop by drop every day.
Correct.
So we're not realizing it. But when we get a cardiac arrest, unfortunately, or we have cancer, or we have strokes, we have name it, that's when we realize that, okay, our food habits need to be changed.
Correct. That's the
Literally.
first thing doctor tells you.
Yeah.
And then you're like, no,
And then when you have to have your khichdi, you're like,
with a
it's too
complaint
bland.
manner,
Yeah.
yes. So, which is the reason I guess the stress levels have increased so much with the youth, especially these days, because of the
Absolutely.
ill food habits, plus their own day-to-day stresses, which they do not know how to manage. Also, something which I
Absolutely.
would say that schools need to teach
Yes.
how to manage the stress.
So which with yoga it helps you manage stress levels.
Oh, amazing.
You have to, so if you practice every day, even 10 minutes, it literally helps you combat stress.
So, again, this is another USP for those who think that yoga is something only for one religion, right?
Yeah, it's not.
I agree. Completely agree. So I would like to tell you that this formally brings us to the end of the podcast. And before you go, there is, I know, lot that you have to let our viewers know. And I would request you to just let us know right now what is it that the next podcast is going to have, what they should be looking forward.
Oh wow. Oh, one more or two more? Because I have so much to
I
share.
completely
And
agree.
okay, so in the next podcast, I think I would like to speak a little more about
Consciousness.
Pratyahara,
Okay.
uh, which encompasses consciousness.
Okay.
So pratyahara is one part which I was telling. It means you have to practice certain kriyas,
Okay.
right? So there are few more things which help you move from outward to inward.
Okay.
So a lot of people already practice yogasanas. They already practice pranayam. So, but not everyone, and a lot of people are actually even scared that, what is Jal Neti? What is Sutra Neti? What is all of this?
What are
I'm not
chakras?
yeah, what are chakras? What is consciousness? Like, what is all of this? So,
Right.
it's it's good to be informed about these things, and then you take whatever you want.
How else do you think that we would be able to pass on this information to the next generation? Obviously, we'll have to learn more about.
Yeah.
No doubt.
So, more than being scared or more than being uh, unaware of these things, it's it's good to just be present, just listen and take it to the next level, because I think it's about time. I mean, we're all here for that. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So, on that note, I would like to thank you very much on behalf of all our viewers. Thank you very much for your time, and we would definitely look forward to you at our podcast one more time. Thank you.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Good day.
You too.
Thank you.